welcome to Spirit Stone's Creative Crafts. This is Kat and I'm here today to do a request for somebody who has asked specifically for this tutorial. So I'm doing this for NGB, who is one of my subscribers and has had lots of interesting questions that I actually really enjoy answering, by the way. So if people have questions, then please just go ahead and ask. It's absolutely fine. And so the question was, you know, if I could do, if I didn't already have one, to do a tutorial on things that you can do with your leftover canes and bits and pieces. So let's just discuss that for a minute. So I have pots of this stuff, just leftover Fimo and Sculpey. It's the only two I use at the minute. When I run out of, or start to run out of these, I shall get some more, but I have quite a lot to keep me going. So what do? Well, I do have a video tutorial on 3 different ways of making a Natasha bead. So that's a start. Let's get this camera leg out of the way. No, it's going to have to stay there. Sorry, camera leg. So yes, so there's the 3 ways of making the Natasha bead. So you might be able to find more ways out there. That would be great if you could. Also, just while we're here, storing polymer clay, your canes and your polymer clay itself, there are certain types of plastic that go well, certain types of plastic that don't. I can't tell you the names of the one that don't go very well, I'm afraid, but I know if you Google it, you'll be able to find it. I once kept some tiny little pieces I wanted to keep in a little container, and when I went there 24 hours later, the clay had separated from its elastin. It was all sticky and gungy, and I'm sure if I'd worked it I could have got it all back together, but I was just a little bit miffed at the time as to what had gone on, and then I learnt over time. Now, some people say you can't use cling film, but I have had polymer clay wrapped up in this cling film for a couple of months, and I've just taken it out, which is what some of these were in, and they're absolutely fine. So I think it depends on the grade of cling film, and honestly I use the cheapest cling film there is, so you know, it's fine. I also use grippy bags, as you can see. Grippy bags, the cheapest grippy bags I can find, and they work really well as well, because I am as frugal as I possibly can be. Believe it or not, I am. I don't like spending, well, everybody loves spending money, and especially if you're a crafter, you love spending money on craft, but I don't like spending the money on the corporation side of craft. I'd rather be as frugal as I possibly can be, because I don't think anything needs to be as expensive as it is. So storing them, different plastic containers, fine. So some of the many things you can do with your leftover polymer canes. Personally for me, I try to only make enough for what I need. I can't bear having all this leftover stuff. So this is the biggest amount for me of a cane that is left over. These are ones that my son has made. So this here, that's it. That's as big as it gets. And this here, and I think I actually kept these just to show myself what I had done, because this was the beginning of learning kaleidoscope canes. So this is one my son's done, and these are a few others that he's done, and we're going to be doing something with these in a minute. So that's step 1 for me, is to try not to make masses. But I know that some people, they start off, they make a cane that's like this big, and then they're getting it down to something that's this big, and then they have feet and feet and feet of polymer canes left. Okay, so what can we do with those things? Well, you could actually make yourself sets of jewellery where you have matching earrings and necklace and bracelet, and you can sell them at limited edition, which means you can actually sell them at a little bit more expensive because they're limited edition. You could also make coasters, and you can cover jars, bottles and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to be covering one of these in a minute. This is one that I bought ages ago, and you're meant to put candles in them, but I don't use candles at all, other than to take off the foil covers and make my own cutters, which is another tutorial if you want to look at that one. I use them for storage, and this is my mini toolkit, tiny little screwdrivers and stuff, and even little mini pencils ready to go in resin at some point. So that's what I tend to use these for, but we can cover one of these, and you know, we can cook this in the oven because it's on glass. So I'm just trying to get the sticker out on the inside. It's been in there for so long, I'm hoping it will just come out really easy so that it doesn't burn in the oven when we put it in there. So to my greatest questioner person of all, NGB, I just wanted to say thank you for all your questions, and let's get on and see if we can do something other than talk about these canes. So I think a coaster is a really good idea. So one of the things you can do, like I said, when you've got scraps like this, chop them all up, make some Natasha beads, okay? Or you could chop them all up, and that in itself, you could make a cane. You can put it through an extruder and make a cane. I also do things like this, where I need a background for a pendant, or a background for a domed pendant, and I want it a bit thicker, or even a background for what we're about to do now, which is the coaster. So this was a bit better patterned, but I put my pasta machine on the wrong setting and I lost the pattern that was on it. But if you're going to be doing a coaster, for example, as you can see, I hope you can see, that actually does have some stripes in it. Okay, so not only does it have stripes in it, but it has air bubbles in it as well. So we're going to need to stick pins in the air bubbles and find a way for the air to get out, preferably before we cook it. Air bubbles are a nightmare when it comes to clay and Sculpey. I tend to find Sculpey gets more. I don't know if it's because it's softer and so you end up squishing it around a whole lot more. You know, like with Fimo, I just can't wait for that to be soft enough to just put down. It drives me crazy, but I love clay, so you know, with this kind of clay, I've tried working with other clays and I just don't like them. So I'm just going to run that through on the same setting again, just to get rid of my fingerprints and stuff that I just dented into it. So, okay, so if we assume then that that there is going to be the back, okay, it's really soft now at this moment. So if that's going to be the back, I want that literally facing the back, and I want to be able to put that down, and we'll cut some canes. Now, cutting canes, I just need to get some tools here a second. Cutting canes can be quite a difficult thing to do, keeping them straight. Now, from what I know and understand, the fact that these have been left out for a couple of months, I should be able to cut them fine. Now, there's lots of different tools coming out on the market for people who can cut their canes in one way or another. But I did see a clay tutor lady, and she showed you how to do one by making a bed of clay and sitting the cane in a bed of clay. So that was kind of clever and cool. But I would tend to leave the canes anyway and see what happens. So I'm just using a little razor blade because it's smaller and more controllable than one of the tissue blades, and they're cheaper. They're so much cheaper. I actually just buy them in the market. So actually I'm not going to use them because I don't have very many of them. I quite liked the idea of these ones actually, and so these are spiral canes. See, because you're always going to have leftover bits, even from the spiral cane. I just cut off the edge to make it straight. Now, I'm not after a completely symmetrical, asymmetrical, whatever you want to call it, job on this coaster. I don't care if they get distorted as I cut, to be honest with you. So I'm going to move that out of the way and bring this back in here so you can see it. And I just want to start randomly adding, because this is where I want to use other canes as well, and so it doesn't matter if they're going to overlap, it doesn't matter if they're the same thickness, because we're going to roll it anyway with our roller, assuming I can find my roller, because my previous video showed you my newly done, not newly decorated, we didn't decorate, we just totally moved the room around, and I'm still trying to find things. So where be thy roller? Ah, there it is, right in front of me. Right, don't need it just yet. So we have the ones here. You can't really see me cutting them, but just bear with me. Yeah, it's these homemade tutorials alike. You get what you pay for. But there you go, rubbish in parts. Trying to do the best we can to help other people. So just put some of these in. I think my son did a grand job on these. Bless his cottons. And then he decided he no longer wanted to do clay and gave me all of his stuff. So I have twice the amount of clay to go through, so I'm quite happy about that. And if he ever changes his mind, I guess I'm going to have to give all back. But he's a great artist, and that's what his biggest focus is being an artist. So when you're making things like this, the good thing is you can just be completely and utterly free. I mean, you have nobody telling you what you can and cannot do. It's your imagination, it's your creativity. I mean, this is just to give you some ideas, and I'm sure if you sat and thought about it, you'd come up with your own anyway. I mean, you're all clever, and we are, all of us are clever and intelligent, but I'm just showing you what I do with mine. What else can you do? Well, you can make badges and brooches and pendants. I do like the idea of doing the candle holder that we'll do in a minute, and I also love the idea. I've seen some really nice mugs been done as well. So, you know, I liked watching a video the other day I saw of somebody covering a vase with polymer clay. I guess I'd have to use my big oven for that, and I tried to just use the toaster oven. I don't want to be using the oven that I cook my food in. Now I know that it's supposedly safe and all that lot, and that's fine. That's not even why I'm bothered about it. My husband's a chef by trade, and you know, when he's out in the kitchen I can't get out there, and I don't want to be clashing with his times. If I have my own cooker, I can do it whenever I want. So maybe I can do a mini vase that might fit in my oven, I don't know. So this is going to take a little while to fill it up, as you can see. And so I'm going to speed forward and speak to you in a second. Okay then, so here is what I've done, and you know, it's your design, you do whatever you want. It's just to give you ideas. I mean, chances of me actually ending up using this as a coaster, I'm probably not. I just want to show you what I would do if this were me. So now I want to roll over it to flatten it out a bit, and I'm now going to turn it over and roll it some more. Gonna kind of have a split in it now. Nope, did have a split, but it's okay, all is good. So that's actually looking pretty funky. So at this point then you can cut this out to be your coaster, you can cut this out to be a pendant, because then when you start getting into, like, you know, let's have a look at some shapes here. So, you know, when you start looking at it through one of these shapes, then it changes it and it makes it different, doesn't it? So, you know, pendant, at any point a pendant. Like I said, you know, having a placemat. So to have a placemat, it doesn't even have to be a square. It can be any shape that you want it to be. I'll tell you something else you could do with leftover canes actually, while we're at it, is you could sell them on eBay. When you get really good at them, you can sell them on eBay either cooked for nails or uncooked. And I was actually looking at some this morning, and they were fetching a pretty penny, and they hadn't quite finished yet. Okay, so there is a never-ending list of ideas. Now, what I'd like you guys to do, if you don't mind, is leave your comments below on other ways that you use your leftover canes for. Now, in this instance of this here, I have made it off shape because that's pretty much my world, off shape. And also I've left some of the silver grey in the background, which I like that idea anyway. And so, you know what, looking at this, my husband needs a placemat for his cup in his man cave, because he puts his cup of tea on a unit, and inside that unit is all my old records from the 80s. So need to keep them safe. So some of these bits need to be joined together a bit better. It just requires a little rolling. And you know, as thin as this piece is, it's actually still going to be pretty robust when it's cooked. So, you know, I can give it a big stretch some of these bits out of shape. Have a really weird coaster, or not. But anyway, so a coaster is one of the things that you can do, one of the many things. And then so I've tried to do this on a glass, an actual glass with a stem, and I feel that I'd have to use Sculpey liquid, which I do have. It's over in my cupboard, but I'm not going to be using now because I believe this stuff would be fine. But on the glass, I couldn't make the stuff stick. But there you go. Trial and error, I'll get there. Now, if you were to use on these candle holders, I don't have any made up here, but if you were to use, what's it called? The Sculpey that is translucent, that's what I'm after. If you were to use translucent Sculpey or Fimo and mix that in with your clay, then it would make it slightly then translucent, obviously, and it would look, I imagine, would look really, really good with the candle inside. Now, I am going to do incomplete mine, but like I said before, it won't have a candle because I don't use them. However, I like having my art surrounding me. It reminds me of what I'm capable of doing. It reminds me never to give up. So, you know, it's hard work being a crafter, especially when you want to make a living from it, because people tell you you can't make a living from it. And the fact is we should. You know, many years ago, craft makers were the gods. I don't mean the gods as in, you know, the real gods that were around, mythical gods, whatever. I'm talking about the fact that we would be hired and paid a lot of money to do sculpture, to do paintings, to do all of this stuff, and we don't have that emphasis put on us now. We're the dregs of society, like, oh, you do art, okay, oh, you make things out of clay. And like, you know, doing craft fairs, it's great if you get a good craft fair, but if you don't get a good craft fair, you know, people come in with short arms and long pockets, and we don't sell what we'd like to sell, and that's a shame. So anyway, I'm just having a random time just putting this stuff on here, and kind of have a pattern in my head that I'd like to do. I just don't want it to get in my way. So, you know, just remember, when it comes to clay, right, there is no such thing as scrap. You don't ever throw it away. Admittedly, I have thrown the odd cooked piece away, only to find out later that actually I could blend it all up and use it for other things, you know. So one of the things I'd like to start concentrating on soon is Doll's House miniatures. Might do a few videos on that, little video set or something, I don't know. So I'm dropping the bottom of this off because I don't want it to be completely symmetrical. Straight would be good. It's one of those days today, guys. So I hope you all had a great Christmas and a great new year, and I hope that you've all got amazing craft plans for this year. I have a book that I have to finish writing, and I also have some kids' illustrations that I need to really get going on. And what else? I have I've got lots of stall stuff still, but obviously it could always do with making more things for the stall, always. So that's probably a plan as well. Okay, let's get this rolled out. I was trying to get it to join together. See, this is another thing. When you have canes that have been stored for a while and you don't condition them, they can go harsh and break like that just did. So I'll take that off. We'll have two sides that are one colour then, because obviously I've run out of cane because I don't really have leftover canes. But that just fell apart. So I'd like to hear about what your New Year projects are and what you're going to get going on this year. That would be great. And just going to cut these out, put these along here. This is not conditioned, so it can be a little bit harder, especially when it comes to the rolling it, as you saw. I'm not purposely not doing the corners yet, for a reason. I'm going to put circles on the corners, I think. So let's speed this up a bit. Come back to you in a minute. Okay, so we've done the top layer, which I wanted the squares. I'm not sure I'm going to completely fill in the whole thing, to be honest with you. I just wanted to play with patterns, really. Now, as you can see, I'm not doing anything to keep my canes straight round. They are coming out a bit straight, but I don't mind because I'm just messing. This is one of my son's canes, not one of mine. But you can do any pattern that you like on anything that you like. And it's endless. And you think of the gifts you can make for people for Christmas, you know. Your mother always likes flowers, so you buy her a nice bunch of flowers and then you give her a vase and just surprise her with the fact that you're the one who's made it. And that would just be amazing. Be even more amazing if you could actually blow the glass to make your own vase in that way. Something that has always interested me, but not anything I feel I have the lung capacity to be able to deal with. So, ooh, canes flying everywhere. Don't have many this size actually. Just trying to get enough pieces out of it. The joys of not having loads of leftover canes. Okay, so that would be my first bit of advice to you. NGB is just don't have many leftovers if you can. Sell them. It would be just brilliant, would it not? Be able to make money from them. And even if you don't think you're good enough, nothing wrong with trying, putting them up and seeing. You know, people want the uncooked canes because they want to be able to make things like this, but they don't have the polymer clay, or they don't want the polymer clay. You know, it could be too expensive for them, too time consuming. This just may be the thing that they want, just to be able to decorate something. Now, obviously, I'd go around on this and flatten it out a bit. Sorry for the lack of the camera, because the desk is different, the camera's set up different, and I've just got to get used to it, so sorry if there's been loads of out of shot bits there. So I could continue and totally fill this up. I'm going to fill these corners with something completely different that doesn't go with the rest of the pattern, because that's me. That's what I'm like. Now, one thing that I am really into is polka dots. And if I had my way, the world would be taken over with polka dots, and it's not. So I think I might see if I can find some polka dot projects I can do. Anyway, not quite even corners, but I'm not worried, it's for me, and I'm not giving it away, selling it. And I will go over with a roller, might even put like bits on here like this to match it. But anyway, I'm not going to finish that on camera for you, and just because it's just scraps, it's just to give you ideas. I wanted to answer your question and give you ideas. There are so many things you can do. Just use your imagination, and you know, you've got all the things that you need now. I'm really happy that you got your toaster oven for Christmas, and if anybody else has a question, I will do my best to do a video for you to answer that. So keep making things. Tell me what you want my next tutorial to be on, and if not, then I will hopefully find something really interesting, something that I've learnt myself that I can pass along. Okay, so happy days, enjoy crafting, and I'll see you very, very soon. Bye.